This is where we talk about how we grow both a powerful brand and business and life as well, because everything's connected. Welcome to Brand and Biz Spills. I'm Debbie White. I've spent 30 years in the creative advertising industry, working with Fortune 500 brands while also being a serial entrepreneur, building several multiple 6 and 7 figure businesses along the way. I'm talking with other powerful women to share insider secrets and insights about building your brand and business. And I don't have time for BS and fluff. You don't either. So let's get to building a powerful brand and business with some real frank talk. Follow me on Instagram at FranklyDeb so we can connect further. Hello, I am here with Elisabeth Galperin today. Elisabeth is a business productivity coach. Yes, we all need this in our lives. And she's going to tell us all kinds of insights about how to be more productive, profitable, and her ultimate goal is to help people have peace of mind. Hey, Elisabeth. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. I'm very excited to be here and chat with you about my favorite topic.
You are so good at this. I've had the pleasure of being able to work with Elisabeth, and I can't wait to dive into all the things that can help people be more productive. The accountability part is so huge. I'm going to touch on that, but I want to know, you work with a lot of business owners.
Right.
What do most business owners need when it comes to improving personal habits? Because you cover personal habits all the way to business productivity.
Yes. I would say one of the most important things is just a simplification of all the things that they're trying to do. Most of the business owners that I work with, and I work with men and women, and I will say I see this with women more than men, but across the board, just having so many responsibilities, wearing so many hats, and sometimes being overextending. And so, the first, probably with every client, I think the first thing that we look at is, what are you committed to? Why are you committed to all of those roles, jobs, responsibilities, volunteer, whatever it may be? And how do we kind of rein it in so that everything is in alignment, and that you're not trying to fit a gallon into a pint size container, right?
It's interesting you bring up that you work with both men and women. I now primarily work with women, and this is something we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do a lot of research on like current day culture and how were things 100 years ago, and kind of why have things evolved this way? And there's a lot of the research right now shows that part of why we create such busyness is it's our way of representing our value. So if you think about even in the industrial age, like you were productive and you were a successful worker if you were able to make 100 widgets an hour, or you were able to crank out a certain number of products per hour per day. We don't really create product much anymore, especially your audience. And, a lot of us are service providers or knowledge workers. And so in order to demonstrate our value and our worth, we kind of associate it with, well, how many things am I doing? How many appointments are on my calendar? How many boxes on my to-do list have I checked off?
Oh my
so
gosh.
it's a worth. It's representation of our worth.
That deserves its own book, I think, Elisabeth. That is huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you don't think about it, but if you step back, I think we can all agree. I mean, it's a human need. We all want to be worthy and valued and needed. Right. So it's not a judgment in any way, but it's just like, gosh, this is one of the ways that in our culture, we have associated value and importance with how many things have you accomplished today?
The busyness, like how busy can I fill my plate? Therefore, I am worthy because I am a doer.
You got it.
And is it really hitting the goals and really giving you the things in life you want? Most of the time, the answer is not really.
No. Right. Because a lot of times half of what you're doing isn't actually connected to your ultimate goal or your passion in life or, your big why. So there's a lot of misalignment.
Oh my gosh, that is so huge right there. That is really, really huge.
Yeah.
Okay, I have so many questions to ask you, but here's one. You work with, I know, even corporations, people in business. You've probably worked with all levels.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one of the things you talk about is looking at and simplifying and also implementing system and structure.
Right.
So what stage of business do we need to be in to start looking at and even implementing business systems?
Yeah.
And we're going to have to talk about, what does that mean? What's a business system?
Okay. Well, let me start with that.
Okay.
And I'm going to, so one of my early mentors, her name was Barbara Hemphill, and she used system as an acronym. And the way that she defined a system was any process or routine that you put into place that would save you space, time, energy, and or money.
Ooh.
So saving you space, time, energy, and money.
Yes, please.
Yes. So a system could be as simple as, what is my morning routine that helps me get to my desk by 9 a.m. every day?
Okay.
What is my routine when I get home with my keys and my phone and my wallet so that I know where they are the next time I'm going to leave the house? So systems can be as simple as a habit, right? Or a simple 1, 2, 3 step process that helps us be more efficient, not lose things, save money, right?
Right.
So in business, again, it can be something. So to answer the second part of your question, which is, well, at what point in a business do I need to implement systems? My answer would be, well, ideally from day one, because there's always something you're doing, even if you're in that ideation stage or that I'm getting started, I'm just getting my name out there. There are things that if you can do them the same way each time, you're going to become more efficient, more effective, and you're going to refine your system really while you're defining it.
Right.
So, it could be, all right, I have a new business and I need to be readily available for prospects and new clients. How often do I want to be responding to emails? Yeah. You really want to have a process, a system for that. You don't want to be sitting there with your inbox open all day long, constantly reacting and responding. Mm-hmm. So it really is a matter of not when do I implement systems, but like where can I easily start implementing systems, no matter what stage you are in your business.
Yeah. So, I mean, time blocking is something we teach our members. Yes. What are your favorite time systems? As far as like, these are habits, right? And like clumping activities together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I would say some of the best strategies that work for most people. Now, again, we're all unique. We all are wired differently, but I think that the strategies that I see working most successfully, it would definitely be what you're referring to, like task batching. Mm-hmm. So if I have 6 phone calls that I need to make today, I should have a time block that is return calls, because it's using a similar part of my brain. It's requiring me to be social and engaged. So I should ideally, I don't like using the word should, I can be more effective and efficient if I do them all at the same time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Even, when am I, so for those who are listening that are service-based, that work with clients, you want to have specific times where you're client facing, and you probably want those to be longer blocks of time. And then you want to counter those with times that you're not client facing, where you get to be more focused on internally. And everybody has, some, like I spent 6 hours the other day at a in-person training all day long with a room full of, 30 people. Yeah. That energizes me. At the end of that, I'm like, I could have gone and done another 6-hour training. Wow. For others, that would be like max, right? No more interaction with people all day long.
I would be maxed.
Yes. So you kind of have to know your sweet spot. And then, so you might say, I should have clients for, 2 to 3 hours a day. And then the second half of my day, I want to be working more on the business. I want to be in my room, in my office, doing creative work or, working on on content.
Totally.
So, your time blocks are, some of them are client serving your clients. Some of them are going to be marketing, finances for the business, networking. If you do get out and about and meet with people. So I don't say yes to having lunch or coffee with folks any day of the week, any time of day. I'm pretty strategic about which days I am networking.
Yep.
So, kind of looking at what are I call them like the buckets. What are the buckets of your business? Sales, marketing, client delivery, operations and team. And then once you kind of have those different buckets or pillars, then you want to make sure you have time blocks where you can address all of those. So nothing's getting neglected, nothing's falling through the cracks. And then again, there's consistency. So you can kind of build a system around how am I managing my finances on a weekly basis?
Yeah.
How am I communicating with team on a weekly basis?
Yeah.
And that's where you start to create the process within the time blocks.
Yeah, I do this now, and I didn't used to. And I mean, I have Financial Friday. I have days I do podcasting. I have days that's team and internal, but it wasn't always like that. And I've been in business for myself for years, so I kind of look back and like, oh, if I could just go back and help that poor girl.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah,
if I'm allowed to do that.
Of course, anything goes here. Yeah.
Do you think that you are resistant to it? A lot of times my clients will say that systems and structure feels confining and like a constraint. And that's, the whole reason I'm running my own business is I don't want to have to follow a bunch of rules. And so I often have to kind of, I have to win them over on the fact that structure creates more independence, more freedom, more time. Was that the stopping block for you?
I like to just do whatever I felt like doing. And if I was going to network with someone, I wanted to be able to say, any lunch all week is fine. And I would work my schedule around showing up for them, even if I'm a ferry in or what. This is so much better.
Yes.
I have like 2 specific days and then one key day I take calls and then like a tiny extra secondary slot. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting because it puts me in charge actually of what I like to do and how I like to do it. And I was doing the opposite for thinking I had more freedom, but I was working around everyone else's desires and wants that were random.
Right. Yeah. Well, and if you think about, there's lots of different ways to define being productive and feeling independent and having freedom, but almost all of those include some level of control. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're talking about. Yeah. I want control over my time and control over my energy and control over where I'm focusing and when I'm focusing. Yes. So that's really why these structures and these systems and these processes and plans, why they work, because they help us to feel in control.
They do. We like control. Yep. Control's a good thing.
Yes, we do.
I know. So that part I do like, and it just makes the flow. So it's all just. I'm a high believer. I'm a high believer, and that's the right word. I'm a true believer in having systems, and I did fight it for years and years.
Yeah.
But I'm much more productive, and I realize like we're productive in shorter windows and I think we just learn that about ourselves.
Yes.
Like I know 100%. I have a sweet spot of like intense focus, and then I just know myself so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why there is no perfect formula. I mean, there's a technique called the Pomodoro technique, and it's you work for 25 minutes and you take a break for 5 minutes and you go through those cycles. And, I will, because a lot of times clients will say like, well, just tell me what to do. Right.
Yeah.
And so, we can start there, but you have to be curious and you have to be introspective. And just be observant and figure out, like for me, I work really well in like 1.5 hour blocks.
Me too.
I need, more time to get deep. Yes, exactly.
I deep dive. And then I come up for air at lunch, and then I'll treat myself to a kombucha and go outside or but I like to get back in it. I'm funny.
Yes. Yeah. So you got to find that rhythm for yourself. And then, and that is the beauty of working for yourself, being an entrepreneur, being your own boss, is then you get to build your day and your schedule around those preferences. But it's not the same thing as saying, well, I just get to do whatever I want, whenever I want, because you're not maximizing your needs in that case.
Do you have a favorite tool or app that you use to like create these buckets or map out your week? Or is it just on a calendar? Or how do you do things? Or how do you recommend clients do this?
Yeah, I have clients use whatever. Most of my clients are using some form of a digital calendar at this point. And so I say, use whatever tool you're already using. So I use Google Calendar. So that's my tool. I call it an ideal calendar. So I set up in my Google Calendar a calendar that literally is called Ideal Calendar.
Oh,
and then I kind of overlay that with actual appointments. So if Tuesday afternoons are client time, that's my client time block, and I have an appointment with Deb, then Deb's appointment goes on my business calendar, and then I see, it's fits in with what I was supposed to be doing right now, which was client time.
Okay. And then how strict are you if they fall outside of ideal? How do you navigate the that's not ideal?
Yeah, I always tell folks to aim for 80%.
Oh, I like that.
If you're 80% successful, I mean, no week is a perfect ideal week, right? So that. 80% is you're doing pretty good. Yeah.
That always brings me back to one of my favorite principles is the Pareto principle.
Yes, right.
Can you not use that with everything?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
80% means you have done the best you can to stick to your plan, and life, like it always does, sometimes throws a couple of little wrenches in there, and you've managed it well if you stick to your plan about 80%. So
so let's say we've got ideal calendars going. This is a lot, by the way. I'm just looking at different stages. Well, here's a question. When you see people they're making more money, the people that are making, a couple $100,000 and up, are they more productive? Are they doing things differently? Or is it no, it's just bigger numbers? Or is it everything? I'm always curious about this.
Right.
Or do they have their act together?
I mean, I think it can be, but I've seen both. Let's just say I've seen both. I've walked into a $1 million+ earning company that I will use your word, that's been a shit show. And I've also seen businesses that are run by, a solopreneur with very little support in terms of team, and they've got it all buttoned up. So what I do see is when companies reach multiple six figures, the most important piece is that they have systems defined, and they do have team helping to run the systems.
Okay.
So there's a great saying, I won't get it exactly right, but it's that systems run the business and people run the systems. And that's how you want to build your business, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with this stuff.
So the most successful way of growing and scaling is that you, the founder, owner, employee number one, that you have figured out, this is how I want operations to run. And then it's so clear that anyone can come in and you can teach them to run it the way you want it run.
Because you have clearly defined steps, which are the systems of how you do things.
Yes. Yeah. And then you can step out of that role. Like maybe you hate actually doing the sales calls, right? You're able now to step out of that, be more involved in the client delivery or the content creation or whatever it is that lights you up. And you know that my salespeople over here, they're on the phone, they're having the conversations, and I know they're saying the things that I would say.
Right.
And they're going to say it with their own flair, with their own personality. It's not like we're creating robots.
Right.
But you also know that they're not deviating so far from the values of your company, or, so you can trust that, okay, that system over there, that sales system over there is working. I'm going to check in and make sure things are going fine, but I can now remove myself. I've got the system. I've got good people running the system. Now I can focus on where I'm, my zone of genius.
Right. Let me bring it down a little bit to like, okay, we've got these women that are like, I've been asked this question. When do I hire my first VA? And I know there's no one, like, you have to be making X, Y, Z. There is no clear cut answer for that.
Right.
But talk about wearing all the hats. When you're in that mode of I'm wearing all the hats. I'm the kind of person, I started my business because I've started 5 other businesses. I hired 2 VAs right off the bat. I do not advise people to do that because I do things very differently.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm all in and I was ready to go and I went into 6th gear very fast, and that's not a typical trajectory at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I think my answer would be, going back to the theme of our conversation here, you have to have written the newsletters enough. You have to have created your social media enough yourself to have a sense of, okay, this is how I want it done. This is, how I'm getting the audience to open my emails, or how I'm getting engagement on social media. You have to kind of test things out and know enough about your audience and about your process so that when you're ready to have someone take over, you can share that information, right?
Okay.
I will tell you, I have seen being least successful is when someone says, well, I'm going to hire a VA and I want them to figure it out. I don't know anything about that. Right.
I agree.
Right.
No, absolutely not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
about your marketing and your brand. I mean, that's my specialty, but I see that does not work.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And another fun exercise that I think opens people's eyes up to, where could I maximize a virtual assistant or an assistant? I will have them in, again, there's no, like, let's just say there's 3 columns on a piece of paper. And you've got your $10 tasks, your $100 tasks, and your $1,000 tasks. So the $10 task is like, I could pay someone about $10, and maybe nowadays we should say 20.
Yeah, it's at least 20 now.
We'll do 20, 200, and 2,000. I could pay someone, $20 to pull data from my audience so that I know their demographics. Well, I could pay someone to do some data entry into a spreadsheet, right? And if I were to figure out what is my hourly rate, not that I charge an hourly rate, but it's definitely more than $20 an hour, right? So I would be losing money if I was the one doing the data entry, versus if I pay someone 20 and I'm over here earning $200 an hour. Right. Okay, now I just made money versus lost money.
Yep.
So then the middle column is like, okay, so I would be willing to pay someone let's go with $200 for this task. So it requires a skill set that I may or may not have, right? So I'm not skilled in numbers. I don't like numbers. I don't like bookkeeping. I don't like all of that. So I would be happy to part with $200 if I knew somebody was going to run my QuickBooks well.
Yeah.
And it would probably take me 2 to 3 hours to do something that one person could do.
Yeah.
So that would go in my $200 column. So that's probably a good outsourcing task, but probably to an expert. Right. And if I have to do it myself, then maybe I will. Maybe I'll keep that on my plate for a little while. Right. Yeah. But I know that that's going to go next. $2,000, if we go to our highest level, that's where the magic happens. That's me working with my client. That's me in my zone of genius. Right. That is what my business is all about. Those are the tasks that I'm going to hold on to as long as I can, because that's the whole purpose of my business.
Got it.
So if I look at, okay, what did I do this week? And I spent 10 hours over here doing $20 an hour tasks, like, I'm ready. I've got to hire because I'm losing money by spending my time over there.
This is so good. Yeah, this is really helpful. I get this question a lot.
Do you? Yes.
Yeah, I think if you haven't hired anyone to support you, it's really a scary, scary thing. And they don't know what to do and where and how.
Right.
But you're bringing up see again, you're all about the structure.
Right.
Gives you the freedom.
Right.
You know?
You're right. Right. Where does the task, what column does the task fit in? And then who should be doing it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then let me just wrap that up by saying nobody makes perfect hires every first hire. You need to also know that you may hire someone and it may not work out well. And it has nothing to do with the fact that you're not a good leader or that they weren't a good employee. It just means it wasn't the right person for the right job. So I think you also have to be willing to try. I'm going to hire someone. I'm going to see how they do working, 5 hours for me. And then I'm going to reevaluate after a month or two and figure out, what did I learn? What do I really need? And then, fix or revise things from there. So I think that's the other fear that people have. It doesn't have to be the perfect person the very first time you bring them in. You just got to try and you'll learn from it.
Well, and even to tag on to that, nowadays with virtual assistants, which are amazing.
Yes.
You can do a 30-day trial run for both of you.
Yes.
Let's see if it's a mutual fit. Let's see how this rolls. And then it takes the pressure off of everybody. And then reevaluate 30 days. Like, how are we doing? And you're like, you know what? I think I've gotten what I need.
Yes.
I've had to do that before. And it's like, thank you so much.
Right.
Or this is working out great. Let's go here now.
Let's keep going.
I love doing that. And it is really helpful, but I love how you break it out into the 3 areas. Another thing I wanted to ask you is, do you think, what do we need to know about ourselves to perform at our peak? Because you do a lot of introspection on testing, and I love all this stuff.
Right.
Understanding ourselves so that we can work more effectively. So what do you need to know about us?
Yeah. So, I could get lost in analyzing myself.
I know. I find it fascinating. I find all this fascinating.
I do too. So I think that we, as business owners, we have to know why we started this whole thing to begin with, right? Because sometimes we lose sight of, why did I leave that job and start this business? Why did I give up that security and step into this insecurity? So that's something that you want to revisit, and that will also evolve. So you want to revisit that from time to time, because you've got to know your why so that you stay motivated and you stay driven. Yes. Yeah. So outside of that, I think it's really important to know, what are your natural strengths and what are your areas of weakness. We all have both.
Yep.
And then you also need to know, are you content staying really good at, these 6 things and outsourcing the others, or is your goal to become better at all of it? There's no right or wrong answer. I mean, most people will tell you that you can't master everything as a business owner. You're not going to master every single part of running the business. But it is your decision to say, well, I actually want to be good at the financial piece, and I want to be good at the operations piece, and I want to be good at the marketing piece. So you also need to know, are you doing this to grow in all different areas, or do you want to stay an expert in your area of expertise? And then you want to learn how to be a good leader to bring in team that has those those expertise areas that aren't yours.
Yeah.
So is the goal to strengthen and become better at lots of things, or is the goal to stay in your zone of genius and then surround yourself with team that can provide where you have weaknesses?
Yeah.
And then I think it's really, no matter what business you're in, you need to know your communication skills, because we communicate no matter what business we're in. Communication is a big piece of it, right?
Yes. And I would say marketing is a big piece too.
Right. 100%.
But yes, you're absolutely right.
And then I think leadership is another really important. Do you want to become a leader? Because that really also impacts how you're going to grow your business.
It does. It really depends on the type of business. Like the creatives out there may be like, I don't need to be a leader, but I would differ with them because I work with a lot of those creatives. Mm-hmm. They're becoming a leader in what their brand stands for, because the ones that are really taking off are owning this specialty. Mm-hmm. Like maybe it's environmentalism even. I have one just running with that. It's like, wow.
Where
did that go? Yeah. So I really think we're all called in different ways as
Yes.
business owners, as entrepreneurs, that we actually are all leaders. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people would never think of themselves as that in the beginning.
No, you're right. And you bring up a good point. Like, are you leading your cause? Like, it sounds like she's leading this cause that she's passionate about. Do you want to lead people? Meaning, do you want to have team that you're leading? Do you want to lead your industry by changing, like disrupting your industry, right? There's lots of different ways to show up as a leader. So what's the manner in which you want to be that leader? And then certainly just a lot of assessments look at what's driving our behavior, right? So understanding why is it that I always take so long to make a decision? Or why is it that I, jump before, the start gun? And just kind of having that understanding of what's driving my behavior or my tendencies. And then once you understand it, then you've got more control over it.
It's all a control thing, isn't
Right,
it, Elisabeth?
right. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I love this stuff so much. Okay, I have one other question, because for some reason, I'm fascinated by this. I attract a lot of introverts, and I'm kind of fascinated by this. I think I'm right on the edge. As a young child, I definitely was, but I love to meet people and get out there, and I think that. Is it fair to say that you're an introvert? You said you were charged, so maybe you're an extrovert.
I'm more of an extrovert. I get energized by people. And yes, for sure. Now, I can sometimes be a quiet extrovert in the sense that I'm not the person that when I walk in the room, like everybody gets quiet.
See, people,
it's like, Elisabeth is here.
Yeah.
But when it comes to how do I get my energy and where do I want to spend my time, I want to spend my time around people, with people. That's where I get my
that
fuel.
too. That's why I'm kind of right on the. I'm like right in the middle.
Yeah.
I think there's this thought, and it's just a thought, that if you're introverted, it's harder for you to like market and like be a, like all these things in business. I'm just curious, from what you've seen and what you've worked with, does that hold true? Do you think that's?
I don't. And I think, honestly, there's a I would challenge everyone listening to go do some research on what it means to be introverted versus extroverted, because I think there's stereotypes for sure. Absolutely. And I think if we really uncover it, it's not about I'm great around people or I do better behind a computer screen. It's really more about like, what's the balance that you need? And how do you communicate best? How do you show up best? What environments do you show up best? Yeah. So I think it really is. It's a choice. You could use it as a crutch, right? You could say, "Well, I'm introverted." Right. I
think it's a crutch.
It's a choice. Yeah. I agree. I don't think it is a certain indicator of whether you're going to be more successul or less successful.
I think it's. Yeah. So if you're listening, like I'm an introvert, so that means I can't, like, let's just flush that away right now. Because I know wildly successful people that are. Yeah. So
that's so being introverted is a strength, just like being extroverted is a strength. They're both strengths. How can I use this fact about myself to market in a way that feels really good and authentic, to connect with people that are like me? So you can use it as a strength. You don't need to look at either of them as a weakness. Right.
This is so fascinating. I could talk to you all day. Elisabeth, where can people find you? Where's the best place to send them? It looks like it's LinkedIn.
It is. Yes. I am all about LinkedIn. I provide all my services to professionals and business owners. So that's just really where I get the most engagement and have the most fun, honestly. So on LinkedIn, just look for my name. I spell Elisabeth with an S, not a Z. That's the one thing that throws everyone off. And then my business name is Peak Productivity. My website is peakproductivitycoaching.com. I've got lots of my blog gets updated on there, and you can reach out and connect with me from my website. Love to talk with anyone that's interested about helping them become a peak productive professional.
You're the best. I always feel like so much smarter after we have a conversation. Like, yeah, that's it. I'm in control. Now I know why.
Well, I love your energy. You always get me excited about marketing my brand and my business. So love spending time with you, Debbie.
Thanks, Elizabeth, so much. We'll talk to
All
you
right.
soon, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Brand and Biz Spills with your host, Debbie White. Visit franklydeb.com, where you can connect with us and join our free Facebook community where all the brand action happens. And I love hanging out on Instagram, so follow me there at franklydeb. And join us next time for another episode of Brand and Biz Spills. Let's get real on women growing powerful brands.